Hey, Chris Lipe here. A little bit ago, I did a vocal analysis of Julian Casablancas, The Strokes, but I chose an older song, an oldie but a goodie. And lots of you loved the video, and you made sure and let me know. Thank you so much. But you also mentioned you really ought to check out newer Julian. And you guys were interested in my commentary on how his voice has changed. And I have to confess, I hadn't really listened to The Strokes since that earlier 2000s era. So in this video, I'm going to listen through, for the first time, to Selfless. We're going to use the music video, studio music video. I'm looking forward to hearing this based on some of the comments and analyzing and comparing and contrasting younger Julian to older and more experienced and refined Julian. Now, as I'm listening through, and we're using the studio recording, there is probably going to be more stopping than you would like. There's also probably going to be spots missing from the song. And that is because if I don't do that, the video will likely be blocked. So I just want to give you fair warning. It's not for any other reason that I want the video to be able to stay up. So keep that in mind. I'm going to include as much of it as I possibly can. If you'd like more help with your voice and getting the sensations and the necessary fundamentals in your body and in your voice so that you can apply some of the things that we talk about in this video, click the link below and join my free voice course. That's the best place to start with me, and there's lots of ways that you can go from there. All right, let's dive in. Well, the first thing I notice is the incredibly subdued posture. Can the dark side light my way? Can the dark side light my way? He starts with Fry and eases into that note. Very closed off, mellow tone. You would have never heard that 20 years ago. Lay your hand across my face. Yeah. Time we lost, that's all my fault. He sounds older, but good. Whoa! Please don't be long. He's using a quiet, mixed voice. You never heard him doing that earlier. Listen to this, 'cause I want you. Let's see if he goes into head voice or if he stays in that thin upper chest into thin mix. Wow, he's got that down. I want you now. You can't really tell whether he's in head voice. I think he's in head voice up there, but he's blending his quiet chest voice with his head voice really seamlessly. And it sounds like a quiet mix. When you can't hear that break and you're able to extend your chest up like that quietly, that's a special thing to be able to do and do it well. And he's mastered that. Again, this is not something that you hear in earlier Julian. So right there is definitely some head voice. That I will live for you. But listen how he approaches it with Life is Too Short. Really cool. Life is too short. is, he swells on that life, chest voice. Life is, head voice. Life is too short. Life is too short. Talk about interesting. I like to draw with my hand in the air while I'm placing these different notes in my voice and placing what he's doing in my own voice. How he goes from that to that pure head voice stanza is really awesome. Hear how powerful and somewhat scooped up to that but I sounds? It sounds a bit mixed, and then he backs off a little bit. Like, I will live for you. Now I sang that in complete head voice and scooped up to that and gave it a little bit more volume. The way he's joining these phrases together, it joins these two worlds. It joins these two resonances together in an amazing way. How did this fit in your story? Yeah. Why'd you let them judge your body? Yeah. Now, listen to the way he changes his tone as he goes up. This gives us clues in how we can naturally extend or unlock better parts of our range. Why'd you let them judge your body? There's this sense that he brightens up and he uses, he thins his voice out quite a bit there, but we must not miss what I'm about to say. Why'd you let them, still kind of nasally and forward, bright, but if I exaggerate what he just does there with my own voice, judge your body, it's the dying cat that I've been talking about, but because he joins the two resonances together in such a discreet way, you don't hear the transition like you do in someone like Chris Cornell, for example. Why'd you let them judge your body? There I exaggerated the transition more, right? Whereas if I go, why'd you let them judge your body? Hear the difference? I create this posture, even though I'm singing in chest voice, where I've got a similar tone to where I'm going to end up, but it's not exactly. This allows me to sort of secretly thin out my voice. I'll be waiting there outside, yeah. He really darkens up there on the yeah, right? Please don't be long, 'cause I want you. I don't have fun without your love. Life is too short. So right there. In the first section of the song, he would have gone, life is too short. Here, he's, life is too short. There, I got it. Life is, using nasality, using the sensation of the dying cat to get a mix voice sound rather than just breaking into head voice. Hear how much more brash that one was? The was a more mixed. Did you notice how he existed in head voice when he didn't need to? That was just a completely expressive choice, right? Not necessary to break into head voice there, but he's saying that whole line in head voice, and now he's low in his chest voice, but it's not much lower than he just was in his head voice. Waste my breath, no lessons learned. I turn and face the enemy. I'm not scared, just don't care. I'm not listening, you hear. His general vocal posture is way different now. What I mean by that is that before, he pushed to use a lot of vocal compression. Here, he's still using compression, but he's a lot cleaner, and he's placing his voice as opposed to, hey, yeah, like that, and kind of being there. Hey, if he were to say yeah the same way in this vocal posture, it would be not yeah. It would be yeah, yeah, yeah. You hear little hints of going the other direction, but he's on this laid back yet really engaged with the different textures of his voice in a very different way. There it is. This is yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah versus yeah, yeah. He might have done those things, but it's really cool to hear his evolution over all these years. Really, really neat. Thanks for suggesting this, and thanks for watching and engaging as I discovered the new Julian Casablancas. I'm going to check out the whole album now. I thoroughly enjoy his voice now. I liked it before, but I really like where he's come from and what he's made his voice into. His use of subtle mixed voice, how he's been able to unlock that thinner, not airier, but floatier version of his voice. We'll see you for more.